There you go.
Got
TZ Razor. There it is. There's your little bit of a counter. Even though there's a lot of magic damage in that lane, so we'll have to see. But man, I still can't get over how bad Shopify are. Treant, Ricky, Enigma, and then they do a direct lane counter with the Razor. And I understand why they do it, right? If you're the best, why give any chances, right? Always draft for the best lanes you could possibly imagine. And because you're the best, you'll probably just win. But this has been a drafting style that's also failed Shopify Rebellion in the past. And when I say in the past, I mean when this wasn't even their roster, when they were still missing Fly and Saberlight. But
it.
still, I'm a little concerned because nouns are going in the opposite direction purely. They're saying, we're going to draft for our big old team fight, and then, sure, maybe you get a black hole off. Maybe we'll go late enough that we have Ag's Doom and you can't black hole us. I don't know. Nouns are just looking for that big death ball, while Shopify are still looking at those lanes more so.
Yeah, and as you say for Shopify, bad is in to a certain extent here, kind of just rude with some of these hero selections. Not that it won't work, but it still very much feels like the trap we've seen some teams fall into, where one team drafts what they want, what they're comfortable with, and the other team maybe gets a little bit too deep into trying to counter that out and ends up putting something together that may not work in the long run. Of course, if all these counterplays work, if the Ricky goes completely crazy, gets that shard, if Arteezy's Razor takes off, they are going to be dangerous. But if you're nouns, your plan is a little bit simpler, a little bit easier to execute.
Yeah, I do wonder what Shopify are going to look here in their last pick. I think the easy one would probably just be to look for Leshrac for Abed. It just
Mm.
makes the most sense. Because right now, they don't really have very much setup with the Ricky Shard. It's just kind of there to be annoying and probably give you a nice link at the beginning of team fights. But they would like a hero that propels the Ricky forward, or the Ricky propels it forward. And it's also the matchup we've seen all week.
Oh,
And that's why Nouns decide to steal it. Okay, I'm down.
now somebody's switching positions here with that Leshrac pickup. So mentioned earlier on, weren't sure if nouns sort of run Yamsun on the position 1 Doom, but at this point they may have to. They could swing the Kunkka that way as well, but we shall have to wait and see. In the meantime, Shopify, one last pick here should be Abed's hero at this point, and ET, well, I mean, you're probably going up against the Leshrac here, but if you're Shopify, you can't 100% bet on that because there is still the possibility that nouns just switch it up, send the Kunkka instead. So, is there a hero that is immune to either one of those two matchups?
There is, and that hero is simply Death Prophet.
Hmm.
And of course, then you throw away that Ricky pick just a little bit. You don't get that easy play for you after that 15-minute mark, but it solves your problem. It can lane versus Leshrac. It can really lane versus Kunkka. Lets you get onto the buildings a little bit easier as Shopify with a Razor carry. Need a little bit more building damage and roast damage. That's the simple pick for me, but we'll have to see. It certainly isn't flashy, but Abed is kind of known at this point to be able to pick the non-flashy heroes. He's just the most flexible mid laner, one of the best in the game's history. It's just going to be a treat to watch no matter what he plays, but that's the simple pick for me. But I think this Leshrac steal definitely caught them by surprise,
Oh.
and that's a lot flashier, so I'm a lot happier. But that directly answers both those heroes in his way more of a lane dominator, so much so that, yeah, they do force Gunner into the mid lane, much more of a 50-50, but it's still a lane that eventually Abed will start to take away. And now you've got to carry Kunkka, so sure, carry Kunkka versus Enigma, that sounds pretty ideal, but we're also going to see some shenanigans, I think, for Shopify to set up those lanes. So that way we get Doom versus Enigma and then Razor versus Kunkka carry. There's going to be some
Hmm.
shenanigans this game.
Yeah, some musical lanes may be in order here from, well, one or both sides to try and secure those matchups. And, well, if you're Shopify, I mean, it's an interesting choice getting the Shadow Fiend. Gives them a hell of a lot of damage ET, but I am going to be sort of looking at the builds here from these players on the Shopify side to see who's going to get the durability, who's going to pick up the utility. Will Saberlight go for that sort of utility-based Greaves build? Will he look more for something along the lines of the Blink BKB so he can be a playmaker? It'll be interesting to see how Shopify attempt these team fights and how they prepare for it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, even though the Shadow Fiend is going to be a nifty pickup, and it definitely is versus the Nouns cores, you fulfill a very similar role to Razor. You are just backline. I hit the thing. It's where
Hmm.
most likely Arteezy is going to be that throwaway core where it probably just goes Falcon Blade, BKB, something like that, the old build. But then if Shopify start to fall behind, Nouns just have better team fight for most of the game. It's much easier for them to get their spells off. They have much more of a run at you draft. And if Shopify don't keep them away or they don't get their BKBs fast enough, Nouns have some pretty terrifying timings. It's where the game can get really scary really quickly. Also, where I hope we see Yamsun absolutely everywhere, almost like a carry Monkey King would play, where he is just always team fighting, still looking for rotations with the boat, even though he is going to be more of that hard farmer.
Right. And yeah, I mean that is the thing with the Kunkka, right? You very rarely just AFK farm, right? You're kind of trying to make moves. We've seen it all the time with the mid Kunkka. If you want to, sure, you can go in there, you can wait your Tidebringer cooldown out and just keep smacking creeps, but it's just not conducive to the hero's kit. So, as you say, we'll see if Yamsun decides to play into that, because if he does, I mean, he's a pretty big tool for the rest of his team to work around, right? They've already got a fair bit of damage in lockdown. Throw a Kunkka into the mix, and there are very few heroes they won't be able to theoretically kill.
And look at this. Nouns are out. Gunner gives a splitter over to the cause, but Shopify also say, these are our trees. Get away. We don't want this. But more importantly, they show that Yamsun is up here. So all of the cores are where they really don't want to be. And then it's going to be a matter of how they read those rotations. Because the Razor has seen the Kunkka. Kunkka's seen the Razor. There's no way Yamsun's going to want to lane versus that hero. And then the game will be afoot. Even though right now, Saberlight is just making his way towards bottom. And he's also prepared himself to lane versus a Kunkka. Worst case scenario. Got a very interesting starting item build here with the Buckler, but it's going to be a tool to survive versus those early Tidebringers if they do just decide to lane it straight.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting choice for him, but as you say, it gives him that little bit of extra durability as Bounty Runes spawn, 2 to each side. Crit, though, doing his best Serpentine pattern there, making sure he doesn't give Gunner an easy stun, and he's able to walk himself away, and we'll see how this plays out here. Yamsun does end up bottom, so it is the Kunkka going up against the Enigma Ricky duo, and we'll see what happens if there's any sort of switch-ups in these lanes, ET, but always interested to see how the Ricky plays in the early stages. Last time we saw one that Ricky was able to make some contributions, able to be annoying, even contributed to a kill or two pre-shard, so very interested to see if Crit can do something similar, because if you don't, well, you spend the first 15 minutes kind of just twiddling your thumbs.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the Enigma. You do just have a strong, very capable offlane hero that is able to kind of do his job regardless of whether or not you're able to do yours. You're always going to get those denies on the range creep.
Oh,
Wave's
no.
always going to be pushing forward. But yeah, top lane, just caught in the worst of ways, just a little bit too far up. And as you can note there in Moo's starting item build, trying to survive with the boots, but there's no link. That was all magic damage. That was, I think, a second leech seed that came from Fly. It's just way too much.
Man, I mean, well, the poor Doom's normally supposed to be a little bit durable, but with the boots build, he's fast, but not very strong, and now Lelis is getting hit up as well. Of course, this is taking a little bit out of Arteezy's farming time, but they're able to get first blood. They're able to establish some control over this lane, and all is well for them. On the other side of the map, though, all is not well for Saberlight. That is rough. Husky dives the tower with the Yamsun. They throw down an early tombstone, and well, now we unfortunately have to focus in on pre-15-minute Ricky, because Crit was effectively useless there.
Yeah, he's just farming some sick charges. The word really is just inundated with creep. Saberlight just let the wave get a little bit too big, and of course, he has this wave under his tower because he is just denying the demonic conversion, but a lot of these creeps are also getting denied, so it is a little unfortunate. It's not really been able to fight too much, and as soon as this lane looks like it's over or Crit gets his boots, Crit will just start to rotate for Abed. So this doesn't really get easier for Saberlight. They're definitely playing in the counter matchup very nicely, as well as just having those strength heroes with high base damage. I mean, the nukes just come through. These Eidolons are not surviving for very long.
Yeah. Bit of a rough spot for the Enigma to not have those Eidolons to back him up. Does get a point up in the Midnight Pulse, though, so he's got a little bit more to try and clear the area. It is some damage that Yamsun is, well, technically capable of avoiding, but probably won't want to if it means missing out on last hits, so Saberlight has some means of fighting back here, but it's still not great, and he's still largely going to have to go it alone, as Husky and Crit are doing a little bit of a dance off to the side.
Oh, and well, he mangoed as if he wanted to make that dive happen, but Saberlight is much more defensively positioned this time around. Isn't too far up in the wave, even though it does kind of suck. Just losing his Eidolons, but you know. It could be worse. And now Crit has his boots, so we will see a little bit more rotation coming in from the spot lane.
Got boots, got a ward, so he is likely off to try and do something else somewhere else. In the meantime, though, that gives us a moment to maybe look at this mid matchup here. Gunnar versus Abed. So far, it's relatively even. Abed's got a slight edge on the denies here, but they are both farming pretty well, as down in the bottom lane, Saberlight is going to get jumped again. Husky, basically the sacrificial lamb for that play, ate all the tower shots, all the damage, but they do find another kill onto the Enigma.
Yep, very nicely played. Just the same situation pretty much to a T. They just get too many creeps on the tower, the tomb goes down, the dive happens, and then they're pretty slow to react as well. And I think, sure, it's fine for now. Abed doesn't need a bottle refill. He really doesn't need that support just yet. You know, there has been a rotation from Lelis to that mid lane, even though it was ineffectual versus Abed. But that's kind of the beauty of Abed in your mid lane. He really doesn't need too much help. Unless he's getting dove by heroes, you really don't see those rotations come. And he's really starting to rock this lane. Gunnar really is starting to struggle now. It's where you finally got those level 3 shadow raises, and all Gunnar can do is try and work for his level 6 and then rotate out to farm. But, oh, Abed actually missed that raise, and unfortunate, but Gunnar, oh,
Comes up just in time to get that final raise, and Gunnar, I mean, that was the only play that he had, right? I think he, maybe he could have tried to get out on foot, but didn't really trust his move speed there, but Abed's going to be able to win that duel.
yeah, and Abed do what Abed does best. Just win his lane, look great. One of those classic matchups in NA as well. It's not like these players aren't used to each other. I feel like they've played so many lobby games that have actually mattered versus each other, but it's just tough. And now he's got to do the walk of shame. But back bottom, Saberlight.
Just needs
And
some
Abed's
help.
here.
It's a little late for the save. Saberlight will die again, but maybe Husky... No. Husky will not be punished this time. Had to basically kill himself for the kill last time around, but just TP's home, and... Well, now Abed's bot. He could walk his way back mid, but they know he has to walk. In the meantime, that is a haste rune for Gunnar, so if the Leshrac wants to make something happen, they might be able to do so. Unfortunately, Yamsun's not quite 6 yet. If he was, they could basically go anywhere that they wanted, but for now, just gonna have to wait a little longer.
Yeah. And that's kind of the problem for Shopify. Those rotations from the Shadow Fiend are not really going to work, and it's why they've actually decided to go for a full lane swap. Saberlight is under too much pressure, and I absolutely agree. Kunkka with level 5 is a bit of a problem, but now Gunnar says, hey, I am 4 levels higher than you,
Oh,
and
no.
Saberlight, I mean, it's close, but Gunnar's got it. He cannot catch a break.
Oh, maybe Gunnar dies here, though. No, crit. Well, oh god. Gunnar, really? No, he's not going to actually go for it. Just a little bit of a threat there to make sure crit backs off, and then yeah, Gunnar gets away. But yeah, Saberlight, maybe you should have just stayed in bed for this one, bud. It's been rough.
I mean, it just kind of makes sense, and they don't know about the haste rune. That's something that only we get because we've got that bird's eye vision, but it is just funny. Doesn't get to be in a lane for more than a few seconds before that happens, and now he's just a pure jungler, you know. Jungling will be in the next Dota patch. Winky face, those darn cedars getting through, but we'll see. But this is certainly not how it is now. This is just a desperation play for the Enigma, and a complete failure of that bottom lane. That lane is now, you just can't go back to it. Yamson's level 6. He'll boat you. He'll kill you. You can't go back really anywhere. And now you're going to take a little bit of Abed's jungle, which is fine for now. Abed's not getting kicked out of his own lane, but is certainly a drawback of the game plan so far. Gunner on fly, being very annoying. Will save his teammate, but nope. Husky gets in, and now Abed on the low ground. There's an Arcaner here.
We're going to throw down the Tombstone. He's trying to channel the Requiem, but he gets stunned first. Torrent will miss, but Abed, he's just getting stunned up repeatedly. No Requiem forthcoming. And they've got crit as well. Caught him with the X. He's going to try to make a nice play with the Blink, and he did jump past 4. Tricks of the Trade, creating a little separation, but that Pulse Nova's just ticking him down, and Gunner finishes the job with the Lightning Storm. Double kill for Lesh, 3 kills in total, and well, at least Arteezy has been mostly left alone here, but the other lanes are really falling behind.
Yeah, and of course, the top lane is the one that's been relatively untouched, aside from early on. But untouched, Moo is 35 and 14. Arteezy hasn't really been able to slow him down, and he's Doom. It doesn't matter. Even if he was 0 and 6, he's going to recover with Devour. So Nouns are recovering in the mid lane still. Abed is still a little bit further ahead, but with those kills, Gunner's taking a sizable net worth lead. XP is now fixed. Bottom lane is still their massive win, and Abed gave away his lane for one rotation, pretty much. I don't know. This is a great start for Nouns.
Yeah, about as strong a start as you could have hoped for, and now if you're Shopify, I mean, you really were banking on this lane not winning, but holding out, because Crit, as we mentioned, doesn't have a whole lot he can do here. You wanted him to rotate early so that the Enigma could be alone, but if Saberlight can't survive being alone, then it's just a straight up dead lane for them. So part of the reason why Saberlight is back, they feel like they can't afford to just entirely surrender a lane, but at this point, ET, feels like it's almost too late. I mean, who realistically at this point in the game is going to be able to lane up against Yamsun at level 7 and Husky approaching his level 6 as well?
Yeah, it's just nobody. And it won't be anybody for a while. It's why they're getting a little cheeky with it. They're peeling back, and eventually they will be able to jungle pretty effectively. Once Saberlight has maxed out Eidolons, it gets a lot easier. But the problem isn't even that for me. It's that with a lot of these Shopify heroes, you don't have your 10-minute timings. These heroes don't sync up and then immediately do something with their level 6s. Finding plays is going to be few and far between. Renouns, they've got Snapfire. They've got Kisses. They've got stuff to do. They've got ultimates to spend. They've got a lot more playmaking potential naturally in their lineup. And, well, they've already got Glyph. So really, we're just waiting for Nouns to make a call for which tier 1 to push down to knock over. And then they're off to the races. They'll just go from there. Of course, with Ricky, does mean that you're going to be able to give the tome over to the Treant Protector, so Overgrowth will be on the table. But it's still a very low-level Treant as well. It's level 1 Living Armor. If there's ever a time for Nouns to get extremely aggressive, it's pretty much now. While Gunner farms a large camp stack and will give that XP over to Lelis. Go time is coming, though.
They are approaching a point where they should feel supremely confident in Yamsun. Going for a little bit more of a damage-oriented build. He's picked up the Armlet as a first item, which from the mid-Kunkas is just not something we've seen in a long time. But, well, as the carry, yeah, you're going to be responsible for a little bit more damage. But the Armlet up this early, he hits hard, and I mean, maxed out Tiebringer's already pretty much clearing out the Eidolons all by itself, so yeah, Saberlight doesn't want to be here anymore. He's just going to try to pull the wave, get some pressure off his tower, and get the living armor on it, but this is really just free damage. Cart's hitting it as well.
No, very nice timing, and yeah, Armlet much more popular for the SA carry Kunkka builds. Is where your Pikazes, I think, come from. Even your Kataros to a certain extent. Still like this item build. Really, only question in the back of my mind is how early Yamsun gets the Ag Shard, because it is such a great tool for both fighting and farming. but it's actually top lane. Look at this. Moo.
You're able to cancel his TP. Okay. Here's your first overgrowth. As you mentioned, sort of passed him the tome, make sure he has it early, and Arteezy's the one to get the kill as well, so... The build is boring, as you predicted, ET. Just went for that sort of early Falcon Blade, but... Get a little bit of extra gold into his hands for... That's a lot of gongs, okay. But basically for free, right? His supports kind of do a lot of the work. He just strolls in for the damage and the kill, and it's not going to get them back to even just yet, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yep, certainly is. Just gets them some more time, and Arteezy gets to farm. As long as he doesn't kick out Saberlight, Saberlight's just going to keep on happily pushing and farming in that bottom lane. The kind of problem right now for Shopify is that their opponents are just utilizing more of the map. They're getting more farm. Yemsen eventually will want to make his way towards this ancient stack, but until then, Gunner's been using his time very effectively, been able to farm a lot of that triangle. I think now has a full Bloodstone, and it feels like finally we might see a rotation here from Nouns, at least from Gunner. Getting aggressive on a tier 1 should have probably happened a little bit earlier, because now that glyph is back up, so next Edict will get answered to pretty satisfactorily, but Bloodstone is online. So now you ask Shopify, do you have enough damage to kill Bloodstone Leshrac right now? And the answer is simply no, they don't. They have to wait. Where Shopify might already be stuck in their BKB timings. BKBs that both Shadowfiend and Razor are just getting after their Dragonlance, Falcon Blade, what have you. But they're still going to be farming for another 2-3 minutes before those BKBs are done.
And while they farm those items, Gunner takes the Ancient stack. And still has that haste. Yeah, now he's going to pop the haste rune. They smoke up. They're looking for something. Moo's got Doom. They want, realistically, the highest value target they could find here. And Abed is pushing forward a little bit. Crit is going to spot this out, but will that matter? Abed still gets stunned. Mortimer Kisses are going to come through. Ghost Ship even being deployed, and Abed's already down. Black Hole, though, does catch the Leshrac, but he still has the Bloodstone going, as well as his Pulse Nova, so, well, we said before, Saberlight can't seem to catch a break. Unfortunately, ET, his bad luck continues.
Yeah, and now immediate push. I mean, this is just a dead tower. There's no way they can contest for this. Their heroes are just simply too weak. Flies there a little bit too late. And it felt like Shopify thought they were the aggressors in that situation, but the heroes just get there too quickly. It's just too fast. And already there was not really going to be a way for him to black hole, but then with Abed going down so quickly, it sucks even harder as Arteezy does find the return kill, but now you got a Leshrac on you. You got a lot of stolen damage, but, you know, it doesn't matter. Yemsen involved in the kill as well, just can't run away. And they're right back onto another tier 1. It's that death ball, it's that 5-man that Shopify are still not equipped for.
And then Gunner's just going to do his best impression of a battering ram at this point, just clearing through all those towers, getting more gold into the hands of Nouns, and, well, if you're Shopify Rebellion, this is not what you wanted, obviously, but not just the actual physical loss of the towers, the loss of the space that they provided. Your jungle, really on both sides, north and east, very much exposed, very hard now to defend with those tier 1s missing. And, I mean, what can they do in immediate response, right? Saberlight, unfortunately, used the Black Hole mid, so that is still down for quite a while. You don't have your BKBs up just yet, so I mean, ET, is there really anything they can do other than just try to stall this out?
Yeah, that is the game plan. It is just get these lanes out as far as we can. Abed and Saberlight are trying to get a trade of the towers going so Shopify can actually smoke into some of these areas. But they're just waiting for BKBs. BKBs that are also being met. Punka's got his ready. He's prepared for that next stage of the game. Gunner's greeting out a little bit more. He's going for Kaya. He's trying to wait as long as he can, as well as Moo not going for the greedy Doom build, instead valuing the Greaves build up instead to make that Death Ball playstyle feel even harder to deal with. But this is pretty nifty, pushing into the Roche with Leshrac plus Husky. Dying, still very easy hero to take that Roche early, and they don't even need their carry. This is just working, and it's not going to get scouted out either. Feel like this is probably Gunner's Aegis. Don't really need it on the Kunkka. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And there you go. Just using all of the map. A trade that Shopify will take because they are getting quite a lot of net worth where they can, and they are getting those BKBs up.
Mhm.
But a freebie now for Gunner to just go crazy in a team fight.
Right, and that's maybe the immediate thought on the trade-off. Okay, we've given Shopify some time to get those BKBs, but if Leshrac is the first man in, if he's the one leading the charge, then maybe we could just trade Aegis for those BKBs and then win the second round of fighting that comes afterwards. So let's see if they actually look for that fight, though, because honestly, if you're Nouns, it feels like they're going to struggle to find some fights in the near future. Shopify are still kind of ducking them wherever possible, but if your opponents aren't going to come to fight, you've still got Leshrac. You've still got the ability to really put pressure on now tier 2 towers.
Yeah, and they did get their glyph forced out of them. Eidolons plus Abed on your tower is pretty darn scary. It's why now they're smoking across, trying to find these picks. Little do they know that those BKBs aren't completed yet. If they did, then this play seems a lot less likely, but Saberblade evacuates. Crit's going to show him the tier 2 as well and start to make his way away. And just a Ricky is not what they were looking for down here. This is too big of a gang squad for this to come up dry, but looks like it's going to be a pretty big failure. Now they're going to lose their vision top, and this was a pretty big whiff. They do see Crit, though, on the sentry, so maybe they get something, but yeah. Looks like Crit might be dead to rights. He would need his teammate to help him blink out of here, but Abed is not going to give himself up for just his Ricky.
Yamson gets the kill, even though he was darted when the final hit comes in, but still a win if you're Shopify, right? You had two incredibly valuable cores down there who both managed to get away slash hide because Abed didn't actually leave yet, but Crit's able to just sort of step in, tank the gank for his teammates, but there is still that concern over in the middle lane. Gunner is just kind of pushing his way forward. There's his creep wave coming up behind him, so Shopify, as much as they want to avoid fights, they also don't want to give up towers for free. Oh, Gunner. They caught him with the dart. Cookie, though, is going to bounce him up onto the high ground. He's still losing a lot of health. And that is his first life down. Invis Rune did not help him there, but Nouns are going to start setting up. Husky goes for the Tombstone play, and that black hole is... It's well placed, but Saberlight just doesn't have the means to protect himself once he's cast it. And now he's in trouble. X is on him. He's going to get pulled back into the fight. And very quickly taken down. So, well, if you're Shopify Rebellion ET, you did get the Aegis out of the Leshrac's hands. That is certainly going to be important for them, but that's now two black holes we've seen out of Saberlight, and they have not really had the impact that Shopify needed to.
Yeah, and in that engagement, I feel like either the black hole or the overgrowth could have been used in that situation, and then maybe you can set up, but Fly just couldn't get there in time for that second respawn, so they almost had the black hole, but then you just get torrented. You don't have BKB. A lot of damage that Lelis is eating, but yeah, Crit is just aiming to be annoying. As long as he keeps somebody at arm's length with that sleeping dart, Smokescreen is still very, very obnoxious spell, and it's working. He's actually been able to dissuade them from this tier 2. Now they're going to treant up their tower. Look at Yamsun. They're looking for him. He can't BKB TP either. The overgrowth is there. He's taking a lot of damage now. He's stuck.
Oh, wait, they overgrowthed a little early. Now he can just TP. Yamsun's out.
Boy.
Husky is going to pay the price there as Crit does hit him with the dart, but Fly a little bit too soon there, and it cost them the chance at a bigger fish. Yamsun, fortunate. I mean, the second he realizes the overgrowth has hit him, he's like, okay, I can TP out now. So, fun times for him. Picks up his Shadow Blade, looking for the full Silver Edge upgrade afterwards. So, he was already doing a lot of damage, ET. He is only going to be hitting harder as this game goes on.
Yeah, just a slight overestimation of how much damage I think Arteezy could do, especially into the boat, but well, that'll happen. And they do force Nouns out of their jungle, which is really all that matters. They kill any of the Nouns' vision, so Shopify have that safety net to play in. And during all of that, Abed was able to finish up his BKB as well. So not moving the needle, but are still finding a good bit of farm here and there, even though I still feel like Nouns' death ball is just not getting answered, especially with Gunner picking up a plate mail, looking for a Shiva's guard, fixing some of those physical damage issues that he had for his first life, to where that second Aegis is going to be fearsome. That's going to be Nouns' best chance to win the game, basically. We still haven't even seen a Doom because Mu has not gone for the greedy Blink BKB build. But now, running in, great tricks of the trade from Crit, get him away from the high ground, but this game is slowing up just a little bit. Nouns want another Aegis. Mu needs to get some of those prerequisite items, and Shopify don't want to give you any time. They're going in for another fight. They've got a Blink Dagger now on fly, so that positioning is even easier. And they don't know about this Blink either. For the lowest kill, that's free. But these BKB cores are the ones that need to be very careful now. I can take you out, and maybe I think this time around, being a little bit more patient, especially on the Yamsun kill. He does have a Shadow Blade, so he's being a little bit more risky in that top lane, but Shopify are closing in on some objectives right now.
They get the free kill. They're going to go for a tier 1 tower here. Going to be able to pick that one up for themselves, so a nice little bit of gold, and Saberlight now has his black hole back up, so I don't know if they do have another smoke, actually, so they could look for a similar rotation there, but for now, Abed's just going to be content with stealing some farm out of his opponent's triangle. And why not? But now, as you said, he's got the BKB. He's starting to look a little bit more towards that damage output. Crit Stick and Satanic sort of queued up for him, so slowly but surely, Shopify Rebellion building up, trying to weather the storm here. They're still down by 6k ET, but the item progression is there, even if it's maybe slower than they had initially hoped.
Yeah, and Arteezy's got the refresher queued up, even though that build is so tight when it comes to mana. You really can't use everything twice. You have to make a pretty difficult choice. As Nouns, they smoke up, they look for the play, they're trying to get onto Arteezy. They're trying to force out BKBs right now, but I think the play is going to be given up, and now Yamsun, yeah, gets scouted, eats a ton of damage.
Black hole, they caught him. He's going to try to toggle his way through it, but it's not going to be enough. And now they want to go back in, but I don't know about this one. Arteezy's losing a lot of his HP. He's going to get hit by the Doom, will be taken down. And that was maybe a little bit too much from Shopify. They're going to try to just back out. Fly is getting really hit hard here. But it's only Husky chasing at the moment. He is going to get silenced up, though, and taken down, but that's Gunner's Q to push in. But that's a few too many heroes, and there's no match community. The dart puts him to sleep. Velas has to try and push him away with the cookie. And Shopify, they're going to try and push in again. Gunner is in a dangerous spot, but there's that Bloodstone starting to heal him up, holding his ground. And Mu is going to try to push in. This is just a back and forth sort of seesaw fight, but Abed is caught, stunned up, and taken down. And Shopify at this point, I mean, they were playing a very sort of dangerous game there, ET, but now they realize our two main damage dealers are down. It's time to stop.
Yeah, it goes in both directions. The only reason they get the free call on the Yamsun is because Shopify have great sentry coverage, and then they overextend themselves and they play into Noun's high ground vision. But mid lane, well, Arteezy, he's got gas to give. He wants this big fight. He's got BKB, but there's also a Kunkka coming into this team fight this time around. Shopify need to be so careful they don't overextend here, but he's doing everything to kill Gunner, but Arteezy, I don't think it's enough.
He wants it so damn bad, but he's not going to get it. The Greaves come in for the heal. And you mentioned the Kunkka was coming. He didn't get here yet. Now Yamsun's in. Saberlight's going to TP away, but at a certain point, Arteezy, yeah, you just got to reckon, you know, you're faster than anyone else on your team, and that's not always a good thing. Just kind of outruns what was supposed to be his backup there, and it ends up being an overextension.
Yeah, and during all of that, got to see it was a 20-second timer on the Roche extremely quickly, and Nouns can just go for it. They've got the Golem in 5, they've got Tombstone. This is just gonna be free. In Shopify, they scan it out, but realistically, you've got no Razor for 10 more seconds. When you do have Razor, you're not gonna have BKB for another 25. And look at that, Roche is already dead. It's just a great opportunity for Nouns. Get to utilize that high ground vision they placed before, because instead of dewarding it, Shopify just ran down mid, and then kind of gave away a big opportunity.
Tried to hunt for the courier there in the aftermath, but not able to get it, and, well, interesting to see. Gunner's the one who takes the shard, and obviously the Split Earth upgrade is incredibly valuable against BKBs that are starting to run a little low on duration ET, but the only reason I bring that up is because Yamsun has not purchased one for himself, and obviously didn't take it, so maybe Yamsun on the carry Kunkka is valuing that tidal wave a little bit less than we've seen from some of the SA Kunkkas, but I mean, at this point, would still like to see him pick it up at some stage.
It's the carry mentality, you know. Agshar doesn't directly give you stats, so it's going to be less popular. And it is, you know, one way to look at it is it is quite literally a plate mail, right? It is 1,400 gold. It's gold that could be used for this AC that Yamsun will absolutely buy. And once he has it, he is going to be a force to be reckoned with, as AC is that it's super important item for Kunkka to actually do damage in all of these team fights. But it's a little sad. It's not as cool, but, you know, we'll see. Even though action in both side lanes, still X comboing with his teammates to push out these lanes safely. On that top tier 2, looks like it's probably just going to go down. And there's no Shadow Fiend bottom, so when it comes to their own push, that push will die.
Yeah, they don't get the objective, and, well, now they lose a hell of a lot. Tower goes down, outpost claimed, Northside jungle, not really Shopify's territory anymore, and they need to be a little bit careful here. How long do they want to stick around here down south? Because Nouns very slowly making their approach, but it is coming. They now smoke up as 4, and they're going to go hunting for something. And if Shopify get baited into trying to go for this tower a second time, they could be putting themselves right in the line of fire.
Oh, and this is sketchy. They do not really want to be down here. If a Doom lands onto Arteezy, he's just dead. You can't TP out of that, and that's what it looks like is exactly going to happen. Even though move might not hit immediately, but he's stuck here now. He has to fight.
Yeah, Saberlight, he's waiting for his moment. No blink, though, to immediately jump in, so he needs to just do it on foot. But while he waits, his teammate will fall, and Saberlight, he tried to TP out, but it's hit up by the Torrent. That's really the worst of both worlds there. Not only does he not pull the trigger to try and help Arteezy, but then he gets caught himself. And ET, the only saving grace is that he didn't actually use Black Hole there. So at least they hold on to that.
Yeah. And sure, during all that time, Abed is not winking. He's not looking at that fight. He's trying to build himself up to be what is now the main carry on his team. His carry Razor's just fallen flat. It's fallen real short. I don't even know what you really buy at this point. He bought a Sanj and Yasha. He's going for an AC. Just does not feel good. It feels like that pick has probably been the biggest failure for Shopify so far. I almost wish Arteezy played the Shadow Fiend and then it didn't pick Razor at all. It looked for a different hero maybe, even though draft-wise, you know, it's hard to say, but just has not felt good so far. Nouns do give respect over to their opponents instead of just going up that bottom lane, wasting their time. They're trying to keep that pressure top. They're not letting that split push happen. While Shopify were solely focused on that after they're losing their teammates. But this Aegis is ticking down. Only a minute left on it. And then we're going to start talking about a third Roche, not even 40 minutes into this game.
Mm-hmm. Gunnar would love to maybe put another push together here. Don't know if they want to prioritize tier 2 mid or trying to push through top. It looks like for now it is going to be the former. Going after that tier 2 tower, clearing out the tree line here as well. Make sure there's no sneaky TPs. And, well, if you're Shopify Rebellion, you just kind of got to let this go.
Yep. Can't do a thing about it. They are getting those side lanes in, but 40 seconds left on his Aegis. Gunner's looking to at least try and force the glyph here. Shopify in an awkward spot. Do you think that you can get this Leshrac away from your building in time? Or is the glyph going to get forced out and then Nouns bank everything on their push? It's a tough decision to make, but clearing out the cart and make it a little bit less obvious. Let's see. A lot of damage traded onto Arteezy, but that's where the dart is so obnoxious for those follow-ups. And yeah, Gunner got to be careful.
He's got 10 seconds, so if he was going to die, that was the time. But they pull him out. He'll just use the Aegis to regen and a little bit of damage onto that tower. Of course, there is still the Treant in this game. Fly has maybe not been able to do too much in the team fight front, but he is healing up those towers as Abed. Be kind of careful there. Yamson got a little bit of vision onto him, so he was able to hit him up once, but doesn't have detection further south, and Shadow Fiend's able to fall back. But if you're nouns, okay, that's fine. Abed's now back in the base. They can reset, they can take control of the jungle, clear out, well, what little Shopify Rebellion vision was sort of in the area, but question now, if you're Shopify, is are you looking for something now? You've got Black Hole, you've got Overgrowth, your BKBs are up, and the Aegis obviously timed out a few moments ago, so this is the strongest they've been comparatively for the last 5 minutes or so. But ET, is there a definitive move that they can make here?
Well, they would love to do something with Saberlight, but I sadly don't think that's in the cards. I think they really are just stuck 4 heroes responding to the tier 3 pushes, and then 1 hero out of the base. And this time around, instead of Abed, it is Arteezy, who is looking for an AC, trying to finish up his items, but Shopify now posture for a smoke, and here we are. They can still kill Gunnar. Gunnar doesn't have an easy dispel. There are a few Force Staffs, there's no Lotus Orb. Okay, Wells has a Lotus Orb, but it's still easy to pick him apart if you can find that Leshrac early in the team fight. Problem is when that boat goes down, their damage just evaporates, and here we are, trying to initiate.
Force Staff comes in. Husky has to sacrifice himself. Now Yamsun. Okay.
Oh no.
X-play canceled. There's a buyback,
they
though.
go.
Oh boy. Looking a little bit rough at this point. Gunnar wants to push in. He does get hit by the Malefice, though, so not going to be able to jump in immediately. And Muhu, oh, he thought about it. Wanted to get the Doom down there, but his teammates would not have been able to follow it up. So instead, Shopify, they fall back, ET, and they don't come away entirely empty-handed, but that's a 4 or 5 man smoke for an Undying kill and his buyback.
Yeah, and sure, now maybe they look to just straight up kill him again. We got 2 BKBs out of Shopify. You get a lot of time now, free range of the map. It's why they immediately pinged out for a hero coming top, and if they get Arteezy, that's fantastic. But already, nouns are struggling to connect on some of these heroes. It's where it's probably time to adopt some more lane warding, trying to get these heroes running out, because it just hasn't happened yet. We haven't seen them close the gap. We haven't seen them go for any successful hunts. Yamsun's tried once or twice, but he's not the best hero on his team when it comes to catching. It's where Gunnar having a Blink Dagger is probably going to make that job a whole lot easier. But as we currently stand, a lot of time given in 25 seconds on that Roche timer. Another super early Roche for nouns. 3rd Roche of the game, 35 minutes in. I mean, that's ridiculous.
That's not supposed to be how this works, but yeah, timing's looking good. Yamsun just picked up a Lincoln Sphere for himself as well, so now even harder to lock him down. And, well, Husky, just doing his job. I am now a ward. I will sit in the pit, and I will wait and look. His waiting is rewarded with that 3rd Roche. Refresher Shard and She's both available. And nouns are straight into the pit, and Shopify, I mean, even if they knew ET, they wouldn't get here in time.
Yep, just too quick. Really nice. Look at that. Simple as that. And a refresher shard given over to Moo. That's the cheese. Just feeling great right now. Now there's going to be 2 Dooms to work with. Even if you have buybacks on Shopify, that's not a guarantee that you can actually win the team fight. As well as, I think, Arteezy's AC dying on Courier, maybe a minute past, but we'll have it in, I guess, 20 seconds, but still very troublesome. Saberlight does snipe out a tower, though, with the Eidolons, so still being annoying. Saberlight's still trying to play the game, but still has had very little impact on this one.
Well, nouns still not quite able to just march their way onto the high ground, even with the Aegis in hand, which... yeah, fair enough, right? There's still an Enigma on the other side, so you're never going to be able to just kind of straight up push your way through without there being some sort of threat, so they back off. They've got to try and bait Shopify Rebellion out, and they've done so, but the problem is they're on the wrong side of the map when this happens. Shopify push their way through top, Arteezy's farming, AC finished as his courier respawned, and, well, if you're nouns... kill potential, not really here right now. So instead, they're grouped up. They could try to push their way through bottom lane instead, and not a whole lot here defensively. Fly does make his way over. See a second TP from Crit as well, so now they're starting to catch wise of exactly what's going on, but the second they rotate, Gunner says, okay, cool, I'm out. TPs himself mid, and they're really just trying to play the tower-pushing version of Whack-A-Mole here.
Yeah, and Gunner's supposed to be very cautious, and that is a very aggressive tombstone, but it gets them onto the tower. Gunner's going to need a little bit more heals here, but I don't know. It's a tomb that currently is being ignored. They're unable to get onto that tier 3, and tier 3 with living armor is still very annoying, and they're keeping a hero out of the base. Arteezy is keeping those lanes in. He's still farming. He's not bottled up. They're really responding quite well to this high ground pressure, and with the tomb committed, nouns give respect back over to their opponents. They retreat to their high ground vision, but again, so important that a hero is not stuck in the base, and they're not looking for him either. Arteezy is playing safe, but nobody's even making their way to him right now.
Yeah, he is entirely free on that side of the map at the moment, so... Well, trying to get as much farm as he can while no one's paying attention to him, but Yamsun, he's making his way over, but he also X'd himself, so not actually going to go looking for that play. Moo, however, is very far forward in a situation where maybe Crit and Arteezy could bring him down. He does have BKB, and don't really have any means of stopping his TP, which is up in 2 seconds, so maybe just have to let him go there. But Moo's actually not leaving. He is trying to bait them in. His teammates are coming. And Gunner, okay, says enough of this. We're not going to try to be sneaky. We're just going to push our way in. And Saberlight is in some serious trouble. Is he willing to go for the black hole here? Almost certainly not. And that is going to cost him. Saberlight and Crit both get taken down. Meanwhile, over on the other side of the map, Lelis had eyes on Abed, but nobody really has an immediate path to join that fight, so gonna have to let it go. But hey, they found 2 kills, ET. Is that enough for them to try and push the high ground, though? Because these creep waves are, as of right now, not really cooperating.
Yeah, they're just a little bit too far away. This is a very big opportunity. Without the Riki dead, they can actually approach the high ground much easier, but this play is just gonna kind of peter out and die. And even though these Roshans have been back to back to back, we're a minute out from Aegis expiring yet again. Nouns just haven't felt like chancing the game just yet. They don't want to get themselves in a position where they're just going to die. Their feed. They know that if they give one team fight over to Shopify Rebellion, Abed becomes the ultra core that they need to win this game outright. They play into Enigma. Saberlight looks for a BKB, and then the game gets infinitely harder. So they're just not even trying. They're just taking the map instead, gonna farm their way up to a 50k gold lead, and then they might be waiting for another Aegis.
Yeah, slow and steady, I suppose, from Nouns. Not willing to take any risks with the threat of the black hole and what could be a lot of damage coming out from Abed and Arteezy. So, I don't know. At a certain point, when do we cross the line from playing it safe, playing it cautiously, to dragging your feet and maybe giving too much time over? Because the Aegis will now time out, and Nouns really got nothing done there. I mean, all the outer towers had already been taken, and outside of maybe 1 or 2 little shredders thrown on the tower, which are immediately removed by the living armor, they didn't do any chip damage either. Yamsun, though, hold on a second. He's trying to push his way in here. And there's going to be the black hole to pull it onto him. Where's his teammates? They do jump in. The Doom is down onto the Enigma, so Saberlight gets his black hole canceled. And now Shopify are in some trouble. They're going to lose 1 already. Crit is dropping low. Arteezy with his BKB should be able to fall back. But ET, they take that fight in a rough spot. Abed wanted absolutely nothing to do with that. He fell back immediately. He had sent his courier out to the secret shop, so could not afford to lose his Satanic there. But that means he's not available for the fight, and Nouns finally get their chance to try and push this high ground. Did not go spectacularly, but they're in.
Yeah, they got Glyph, and that really is all that matters as Fly. Yeah,
Whoa.
Beautiful scan from Gunner, able to make that jump. Now just looking for the kill. Will get feared away, but here's the Ogre Seal Totem. Love it. but there's also a refresher. Arteezy, he could get doomed up here. Moo,
There it is.
beautifully orchestrated.
And Arteezy, he just bought his Satanic ET, so he has no buyback. Oh boy. Well, all of a sudden, Abed kind of got to do this one not quite all by himself, but pretty close. Saberlight with no black hole is only going to be able to contribute a certain amount. Obviously, the Razor's still dead for over a minute, but there's not a lot that they can do here. They're going to have to let one lane of Rex go, and if you're Nouns, well, if Arteezy hasn't bought back at this point, he probably doesn't have it, has to be the thought process, so they're going to swing for 2.
They're pushing in. Glyph does get refreshed, so Shopify has something to play for, but without their Razor, there's just no secondary core to make space. And now, well, your throwaways, you've got 2 throwaways. Saberlight's dead weight, he just agrees at this point. The entire defense comes from living armor and Crit being annoying and Crit throwing those fireballs out that are slowly but surely also chipping away from his own Necromastery, which is not getting replenished at all because not getting many of these creeps pushed into him. But Nouns decide to back. 15 seconds on the Razor respawn. They don't want to be caught. Also very aware of Overgrowth and Black Hole coming back off cooldown, so they give a little bit more time. But Nouns don't give up an inch. They go right back to their high ground vision. They say, we're going to stay up here. We're going to keep as a group. We're going to give you no openings. They're just looking for that super slow, mildly annoying, but just holeless game. They are just never giving an opportunity for Shopify. There have been so many failed smoke attempts simply because there's just nothing to smoke to. You're smoking into a 5-man team fight, and it's a 5-second Roche. It's 4th Roche, 43 minutes into the game. Dota wants Nouns to win at this point. All they have to do is peek their noses in, and then they'll see, hey, he's back up again with an Ags, with a refresher. They just got to peek in.
Pushing up the ramp instead. Crit's going to get a little bit of vision, but now Crit's got to run for his life. He is making it out. Blink strikes everywhere he could. And he does manage to make his escape, but Shopify, very importantly, did not get vision of the pit. And at this point, Yamsun, look at the man go. He's got a Heart of Tarask. He says, really, go ahead and try to kill me. But Shopify don't take the bait. Probably in their best interest. But now, can they take a fight at all? That's an Aghanim Scepter picked up on the Doom, making its way out to him, but they might jump before he gets it. And there's going to be the jump. They get the stun, they get the Doom. Razor's locked down. Ghost Ship coming through. Black Hole from Saberlight is going to connect, but his teammates are already dying. Abed, though, going for the Requiem at point-blank range, doing a fair bit of damage, but they can't actually kill. And there's your GG, ET. They were willing to give it one last shot, and the worst part about it is that last shot actually involved a good Black Hole for the first time, and it just wasn't enough.
And there you go. Shopify are not invulnerable. That distance is getting cleared. And Nouns take, like I said before, a kind of annoying victory. Not a lot happened in that game, but also some issues here for Shopify in their draft. And I think compartmentalized by the fact that with the Shadow Fiend last pick, sure, you answer Gunner. Sure, Abed solo kills the last track. But that's it. Your rotation is a TP and 2 raises. You're no more lockdown. There's no more playmaking potential in the lineup. It is just a lame lineup for Shopify. All of their cores do not rotate. All of their cores are not ideal. They banked so hard on this Razor being an answer for, I think, the Kunkka or the Doom lane, and it just fell short. This is one of the worst Razor picks I've seen in quite a bit. And then he also doesn't shift over. He doesn't give Abed everything. He still tries to make it work. I mean, he's Arteezy. He's got a farm, and he did get pretty farmed, but he's just not on a great hero. And then we've got the problems with Saberlight. Really, the only people on Shopify that really played well were the support duo. Fly and Crit tried everything. They weren't really dying. They were in the right spots. Sure, Fly had the mishap with his ultimate, but Crit tried to delay this game so long. He gave so much time. He's part of every single kill, you know? But it just doesn't matter. It's just too big. It's insurmountable. It's net worth. It's everything. It's all the agency. It's every Roche. At the end of the game, we saw 4 failed smokes from Shopify. It all just piled up.
Doing everything that they could to try and get back into it, but they just couldn't find it. Could not get their cores into the positions they needed to succeed. And as you said, some of that is a draft issue, but a lot of it was Nouns just played better. And unfortunately, ET, We talked about this a little bit in the draft itself. Sometimes squads get baited into trying to counter draft instead of picking up something for themselves, and this kind of feels like a perfect example of that. They were trying to outdraft nouns so hard that what they put together didn't really work for themselves.
Yeah, and I think now coming into game 2, we've gotta see something really different, but I just think a switch up in the tricore, and maybe
Mm.
now they're gonna first phase that Abed Batrider, but Nouns were just ready. They were so prepared for this, enigma, and maybe it was Yamsun Kunkka from the beginning, and that's just where maybe we can't first phase Saberlight's enigma anymore in this series, but Nouns just had answers, and Shopify didn't have a response.
Mm-hmm. Well, nouns now have won 5 straight matches here in Pro Series. The question is, can they make it 6? Can they take a clean sweep over Shopify Rebellion and lay claim to that first spot in the grand final? Or will Shopify be able to bounce back, put together something a little stronger here in game number 2? We're going to be finding out in really just about 10 minutes here. So stick around, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.